That time I got reincarnated as a demon lord, English, by LordedoMal44. 32 Profane. P1. Profane. When I shouted that, my body, which surrounded Shizu's like a sphere of goo, was painted black. That's because my own soul had left the body in the form of a spirit creature in order to hold Shizu's soul inside the body. Let's ignore that my soul is full of darkness. I have to save Shizu. I don't mind plunging my soul into darkness, but I will save it. If not, why have my skills? Focused on that, I accelerated analysis from predator with assessment, thought acceleration, and parallel processing from great sage, bringing me to my maximum speed. The world around me seemed almost still, so fast was I moving, and yet I felt slow. It was almost as if he could feel Shizu dying little by little, and none of the analysis ended. Less than analysis finished. Can't save Shizu Izawa. In the current state, individual Shizu Izawa lacks the power to face effort for control of the body, resulting in the total consumption of his being. The most likely result is the consumption of the individual Shizu's consciousness, erasing it while attempting to return permanently. Because of this, it is not possible to save Shizu by returning the Ifrit. Greater than. Damn it. Why can't things be this easy for once? This time was the only time I needed luck on my side. Just this time. Wise. I need you to find a way to save Shizu, now. Less than calculating possibilities. No possibilities found. 21.3% of information from sacred texts was tested. 0% chance of success. Individual Shizu Izawa has no chance of survival. Greater than. Not even that I will accept that possibility. Wise, we've fought what the world says is possible more than once. I trust you will make it, so. Before finishing the sentence, I felt Shizu's soul trying to leave her body, so I focused all my attention and molded my spirit form to force her soul back into her body. Fortunately, Unholy connected us now that she was weaker, so I can hold onto her soul more easily while assessing her body to make sure there is no damage. Let's just ignore my soul turning blacker from unholy use for now, or the absurd waste of my spells. I don't have a lot of time, but how do I fight the possibilities? I can't do anything with my current set of skills, and I don't know any spells that would help. So how do I stop Shizu from dying? Unless I can fight old age, That's it, Sage. Find a way to rejuvenate Shizu, now. Less than calculating. Greater than again, even using everything I have, even if the wings of a fly in the room aren't even able to move in my accelerated tempo, the result is that I still feel sluggish. Every second, Shizu's soul seems less connected to her body, forcing me to position my soul and my spirit body to hold her, spending an even greater amount of spells. At the current rate, I won't have time to save Shizu, and, even if I have time, I won't have the necessary spells. I need to get even stronger. Less than result found. The human body is made up of cells that wear out over the passage of time. Debit to greater than. The fastest way, Sage. Less than. By rebuilding her body, cell by cell, it would be possible to reverse aging by using cells from a younger body as a baseline in the process. It would need to convert about 13 trillion cells in all. Greater than. Excellent. This is not simple at all, but it's enough for me. If I can save her, I don't care. The process of rebuilding the body, start immediately. I will keep her soul and spirit body intact throughout the entire process. Less than warning. Impossible to rebuild human body cells. Predator. Cannot build cells to this extent. Greater than. Damn it. What do you think you're doing, Sage? Proposing things you can't do? Help me, partner? Less than. Greater than. I focused even more, trying to find the solution myself. I felt quite helpless to see that even if I had fetched so many skills, none of that would save Shizu now. After all, how did I not acquire anything to help others? Did I rely so much on the complete healing potion? Wouldn't I be the one capable of raising the dead? For her? I can't let the one I love die, otherwise, what's the use of having power? Less than. Let me help you, Slime-san. We can do this together. Greater than. To call it a thought would be wrong. Someone's intention seemed to arise within my soul. It was like someone started to help me, like there was someone else in this room, but I know I'm alone here. Well, whatever, as long as it helps. Okay, what do I have to do? Come on, Rimuru. I know you can do it. You are a reincarnated person, aren't you? A reincarnated person has knowledge. Reincarnation. If I can't reconstruct Shizu's human body, then all I need to do is build her a new one that I can build faster and without having to evaluate so much information at once. Sage, if I'm not mistaken, Veldora built his body through the use of magic, didn't he? Less than positive. Individual Veldora's body was constructed artificially, with the use of magic, greater than. Sage, decompose Veldora's body once more. I want you to get me the skill to build a physical body through the use of magic. Less than understood. Decomposing the corpse of the individual Veldora. Failure, unable to gain any skills. Trying again. Failure, trying again. Fail, greater than. The sage tried again and again, but the skill never came. No matter if the sage tried on different parts of the corpse's body or if he tried to change even just a little the process, I couldn't acquire this skill. The amount of information you had to process to get it seems to be on a different level than the sage. After all, how strong is this Veldora? After 2 whole seconds of trying, I lost count of how many thousands of times I tried the skill acquisition process related to creating a body, and even then the answer was always the same. Failure. No matter what we tried, the sage couldn't acquire this skill because of the sheer amount of information required. Then again, the problem is information, isn't it? Even with great sage, I'm still not enough. But there's still another way. Wise. I am one born of magic, am I not? I was born from Veldora's aura, just an accumulation of the spells that leak from his body, so wouldn't it be possible to build such a body? Using my own aura as an example, concentrating it to a point and forcing it to become a body? Less than this process would take to greater than we speed up the process using metamorphosis, create a new body through magic, and make sure her soul is at the center, forcing a reincarnation. Less than processing. Possible, however, the process requires a large amount of magic, which could be beyond current processing capacity and control. In addition, risks involved to greater than. Knife. Less than. Negative. The process is contraindicated and to greater than. I ordered it. For the first time since I arrived in this world, I felt that the sage, the great sage, my partner and my most powerful skill, was disagreeing with me. It wasn't the first time that this happened, but it was the first time in such a serious moment, and it was certainly the first time that he insisted so much on going against my will. And, to my surprise, this. Less than negative, individual Rimuru Tempest is the top priority. No action that puts the life and safety of the Rimuru Tempest individual can be performed, greater than. It was the first time that the sage refused to follow a direct order. Even so, no matter if it's the sage, Veldora or the cursed god of reincarnation that made my soul come to this world, I won't let anyone take Shizu away from me. I'm sorry, sage. At that moment, the existence known as Great Sage, for the first time since he was born into this world, fell asleep. His existence, which had been adapted to suit the wielder, bearing a voice and will, had been negated, and his consciousness disappeared for a short time. The sage disappeared, but the Great Sage, which was all Rimuru needed, was still there. Taking control over the Great Sage's processing capabilities, Rimuru used his enhanced processing capabilities and focused everything on the process he was trying to accomplish, transferring Shizu's soul through unholy to a point in her body, separate from her body, from Shizu, where he focused his aura. And, just as Sage had warned, the amount of spells being manipulated was far too great for Rimuru's current processing capabilities. Rimuru knew this. He was aware that if, for a second, he lost concentration, Shizu's death would be the least of his worries. The surge of spells could kill Rimuru and everyone who had his soul corridor, and the amount of spells in the air would become poisonous to all other individuals in the vicinity, except those stronger than Rimuru. In short, if Rimuru failed, every living creature in the city would die. But Rimuru would not fail. He couldn't. Pushing his capacity past its maximum limit, Rimuru forced his body to process far more information than it normally could. Normally, a slime would have part of its cells processing information and others acting like muscles or vital body systems, so it would always be varying which cells would act like neurons. This is why slimes normally don't need to sleep since, as the part of their bodies that acts like the brain changes to be able to rest, a part of them would always be rested to act like neurons. What Rimuru did, in that moment, was deny his race's natural instinct, or better yet, he denied reality. Forcing every cell in his body to activate, Rimuru made every cell in his body act at the same time in the form of activated neurons, using 100% of his brain to think. This increased its processing capacity by more than 100 times, thus surpassing its limits so far. Of course, this was also accompanied by the world's announcement that Rimuru had acquired the Overload skill, but since that was unnecessary at the time, Rimuru ignored it, not using even one of his neurons to realize the fact. With his processing capabilities heightened, Rimuru refocused his mind, and this time he felt how the spells and aura flowed much more easily than before. The process of creating the body, something that would normally use an absurd amount of aura and take days at the very least, had been started in seconds. Even so, that was nothing compared to what was about to happen. Rimuru began to concentrate the magics he had accumulated into a single point, with Shizu's soul, accompanied by her spirit body, as the center. The control over all the surrounding spells had to be perfect to ensure that there was no deterioration of Shizu's soul. Otherwise the human's soul would be destroyed before completing the construction of the body. At that moment, Rimuru saw that, even with his improved processing ability, the amount of spells he was trying to control was practically impossible. He couldn't make mistakes, but with Rimuru's current abilities he couldn't process more information and control such a large concentration of spells. Still, Rimuru didn't give up. Using his soul, which was existing as a parallel existence to his body, a sort of spirit life form that resembled a spirit, Rimuru forced a new source of processing. This time not processing the information trapped within the physical limits of his body. Rimuru surpassed his limits once again, using his own soul in order to process much more information as a kind of parallel processor, just like a certain Damphir from a novel he wrote. This was followed by another announcement from the world, another skill getting even stronger, but Rimuru didn't have time to waste on this trivial information. With an absurd amount of spells under his control, Rimuru realized that there was an instability factor throughout the whole process that was based on compatibility. Although it was possible for him to reincarnate into a slime by passing through the world barrier, it wasn't so easy in practice. The human soul was rejecting the body created by magic, which should have another kind of spiritual body to contain it. It can be said that, for Rimuru, this process was only possible because the world itself readjusted his soul and spiritual body to be compatible with the body that did not require blood, which had been selected to be the body of a slime. Having encountered such a problem, Rimuru found himself in a huge dilemma, one that he couldn't get past no matter which of his skills he used, so he decided to use a skill that didn't belong to him. Doing the unthinkable, Rimuru used Unholy and shattered Shizu's soul. He had analyzed Shizu's soul long enough to be able to complete the process without any problems, which is why he could so easily find the part he was looking for in order to complete his own project. And so, by devouring the part of Shizu's soul using Unholy and Predator, at the same time, Rimuru successfully acquired the unique skill, Shapeshifter. Despite their similar names, Shapeshift and Shapeshape were quite different skills. Shizu's unique skill, Shapeshifter, could put things together and tear them apart, degenerating one thing to a lower state or joining two to a higher state, while Rimuru's unique skill, Shapeshifting, could override something's information to something else, as long as the necessary components were present. The first could not reconfigure something without two pieces to join or separate, and the second could not put two things together. That's why, when the world announced that these two unique skills had merged to form the Change skill, the process Rimuru was trying to accomplish became much easier. The spells, which previously refused to be compressed, began to coalesce with ease, and the information in them was easily configured into a form Rimuru wanted, one that fulfilled certain prerequisites and more closely resembled Shizu's tastes. This left the remaining issue as compatibility, but for the current Rimuru this would not be an issue. Rimuru used Predator and Mimic Different Spirit Body, using Change to ensure the transformation had the same properties as a spirit, and then used Predator to eat those parts of her mimicked body. Normally this wouldn't be possible since mimicry was a copy made using only the wielder's spells, but due to the effects of metamorphosis within Change, the body parts had been permanently altered, being no different from an ordinary spirit found anywhere. But there was a problem with the process. The amount of spells that was required to create the overspirit from scratch was very large, surpassing the amount of spells Rimuru could recover from devouring everything in storage. Even though only 12 seconds had passed since the process started, Rimuru had already spent all the reserves he had in order to regain his spells. At this rate, Rimuru would run out of spells before he could create a spirit. That's why Rimuru started looking for another way to get his magic back. Some of the few shapes that came to mind were inconvenient or useless, so he focused with all his might, while still ignoring the voice of the world. Due to this lack of space to process information, Rimuru had not paid attention to the announcements that the world gave him, such as the skills he acquired, monster creation, and spirit creation. For this reason, Rimuru also didn't realize that the overload skill not only activated his slime body cells, but also the sleeping mega slime cells, forcing an attempt at evolution in the world. By not listening to these announcements, Rimuru didn't even realize when, but he acquired the perfect skill to solve his problems, a skill that would make up for his lack of magic. He didn't even realize the skill, he just unconsciously activated it, and when a chance to recover his magic came up, Rimuru didn't even think about it, he just applied his plan. Creating several clones with the skill acquired from Ifrit, Rimuru sent the clones in order to increase his spell recovery, devouring everything around the city while his new skill converted everything into spells faster. Thus, the new intrinsic skill, instant digestion, was activated. The amount of magic that Predator could recover paled in comparison to the new recovery, making even the absurd processes that Rimuru tried to do all at once could be supplied without difficulty. All the matter present in the path of the clones that Rimuru sent into the surrounding forest disappeared in seconds, turning into magic. With that, Rimuru resumed the process he was going through, ignoring the small part of his mind that tried to tell him that this was all sheer madness. Using Predator, Rimuru synthesized a higher spirit using the same information he had acquired from Ifrit, partially altering its form and creating an artificial ego, which would allow the spirit to act independently. And so, once again, Rimuru did what for most creatures was unthinkable. Rimuru converted a portion of his own skills and soul into energy, supplementing with the energy that had already been accumulated by the unholy skill, and made a wish to the world so that Shizu's soul, as well as her spiritual body, would be repaired, and at the same time, Rimuru permanently fused the fire spirit he had created with Shizu's spiritual body, which converted her into a Majin of sorts. Shizu Aizawa was no longer a human being. Rimuru ignored the voice inside his head that said that this was not Shizu's wish and refocused his attention on the process he was carrying out, realizing that most of the process had been completed. Shizu's soul and spirit body were in good condition again, so all that was left was for Rimuru to merge her soul with his body again. But how would he do it? If he used unholy, Rimuru could fuse the two together, but the amount of energy needed was such that even if Rimuru burned down the entire forest, he wouldn't be able to supply half of what was needed for the project. Furthermore, even though he was regaining his spells as fast as he lost them, Rimuru knew the wear and tear of unholy on his own soul was dangerous, since his own soul shouldn't remain outside his body much longer. This greatly reduced Rimuru's options in this situation. And then, a spark of inspiration sprouted in Rimuru's mind, taking him further. Separating synthesis and mimicry from Predator, Rimuru fused them into change, causing the skill's second evolution on the same day, giving rise to skill transformation. With that, he was able to merge Shizu's old physical body with the new body he had made, using the advanced version of synthesis, transmutation, to fuse both bodies while giving an order to his clones. Right after that, Rimuru separated his newly acquired skill, instant digestion, merging the parts with skills, Predator, and naming. In the case of Predator, there were no visible changes, but naming underwent a major change, one that would mark Rimuru forever. The unique skill, naming, evolved into the superior version, absolute naming. Once he did, Rimuru confirmed that, using their strongest skills, the clones had served their purpose, giving Rimuru a small but useful portion of energy that could be used by unholy. Rimuru wasted no time, using transmutation of transformation to merge the physical and spiritual bodies on top of each other. And so, Rimuru did what should have been impossible for someone of his current level. Rimuru reincarnated a person. Unlike the previous version, absolute naming is much more powerful, and the result was a perfect engraving of the name inside the soul. Shizu Izawa had Shizu engraved on his soul, even though it was against her will, and the spirit fused into his spirit body was named Phoenix, in order to maintain the affinity. This caused Rimuru to feel his body's magic being drained at an absurd speed, and as a result, he almost went into a state of hibernation, but the clones, thanks to the Predator upgrade, were able to maintain their magic recovery. Thanks to the name, Shizu's spiritual body tried to evolve and, as a result, tried to create a physical body. However, being already inside a physical body, both bodies merged. That was the moment Rimuru took advantage of and used his skill, Unholy, to make a wish, granting Shizu a skill, based on a fraction of the skill, Shapeshifter, just before the fusion ended. And with that, despite Rimuru's own disbelief, he managed to save Shizu's life. For a moment, Rimuru just admired the woman's new beauty, feeling that, although her human traits had been lost a little, she had become even more beautiful. Mesmerized by this, Rimuru couldn't see how a spike of magic was guided towards Shizu's soul until it was too late to stop it, so he